sounds pretty quiet. Yeah, do I even hear that hum anymore? I don't think so. That's freaking awesome. All right, welcome back everybody. So today we have episode 5 of the Valveking series. What we're going to do today is go through some of the power section of this. There was it's a forum, I can't remember if it was German or Italian, but it's in Italian or whatever language it was, and you have to translate it to find out what the guy was saying. So there's a bunch of improvements on the power section. So this kind of stemmed from Ricardo. Thank you so much for sending it to me. But it stemmed from taking the texture pot off, and it basically neuters the signal as far as the amp goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the texture pot knob on the back of this, and they say it's supposed to make it a lot louder, because what do you need that texture knob for anyways if you have a master volume, right? We'll do that. We'll do some of the improvements on that. We just did the R100 mod on this, and we'll just do a before and after. I am also going to do the bias mod on this as well. Depending on, I might do the bias mod first. We'll see how it goes. We're just going to get the baseline of this now, because I'm going to do that for every video, and then we can compare it afterwards. So everything's at noon. The gain and the boost volume is pushed in. The gain is at noon as well. The R100 mod is turned on, and the volume is at that first dot. So I'm going to keep that going throughout the whole series. So here's the little demo riff. I thought that would be a good riff for this, just because it's a range of like power chords and a little bit of lead stuff and clarity with the chugging and all that stuff with the triplets and all. So I'd like to use that riff to go forward with testing what it sounds like afterwards. So let's go do the mods. All right, so basically this is already drained, okay? We don't really need to get into the preamp board for this mod here, because I'm going to be adding components to the power section here. I love how this is set up because it's really easy to understand. Preamp, power amp, you know? And then this little foot switch thing, and then there's the texture knob thing back here. Just to give you an idea, there's going to be a bunch of things we're going to replace on this power board itself. We're going to mess with this texture knob thing and replace a few things on it. Basically delete that. Let's go ahead and start with taking this thing apart. The first thing you would need to do, this whole thing, let's go ahead and put this up here so you can see a little bit better. I'm doing this on a GoPro, so sorry, but it's what I got. Because I'm going to need my phone to just kind of see which pieces and parts I need to change out. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these power tubes down. Sorry that R100 thing was kind of a bust. At least for me it was. It wasn't doing anything that special that I would recommend to anybody, I should say. So there's several things here, and what I'll do is I will use this to highlight certain parts just so you guys can see it better. So basically what I need to do is go ahead and, since I'm back here, I'm going to take this off, take these off, take this off, take these screws off right here, and as long as the phase inverter tube is out, then you're good. So that should be pretty much all I need to take it out of here, and then we'll go ahead and start adding the components. So, and no, don't use a drill, but I feel comfortable enough with having the right Phillips head to not strip anything. So, and I probably should not have it on that super fast setting either. So we're gonna go ahead and take these apart. First the top, so we can get to the bottom. Alright, take these out. I'm excited about this one because it's actually upgrading the components in the power section. I do love an amp with a good power section, I can tell you that. The only thing that I'm probably not going to do with this is the transformers. So we'll see how far we can get without. So we're going to go ahead and take this texture stuff off too. Now we'll go ahead and flip it back over using the transformers. Right. This got some voltage back. Interesting. -2. See? That's why you always gotta check, man. Always gotta check. Good. Okay, we're looking better now. Alright, we're good. Okay, so now I can take this off. And there are these connectors here. I have to go ahead and just take that out so it's out the way. Get out of here. Put that over to the side. And this little booger. There's the texture knob. It even says Mojo on it. Okay. Go ahead and hook these. Pull these off to the side too. Oh, there is a few more screws on this board. Another little group. No, I guess it's just 2 of them. Okay. Alright, as you can see, this is hooked up to here too. And there we have it. The power board. So what I like to do is I make like a little note, like a OneNote thing of the parts that I'm going to do, and then just go ahead and do it. Now, one of the problems that I'm seeing is that the orange drop caps that I got are freaking huge. So I'm going to have to see what I can do with that. I might even have to mount them on the other side of this. Let's start with changing for these guys. I can already tell, thankfully, that this board has them labeled on the actual board. So that is a wonderful thing. Not all amps have that. So let's check R1, R2, R6, and R5. Here's R2, R5, R6, and R1. Okay, it's exactly what I was thinking. So let's go ahead and get started. The trusty old solder sucker. I'm gonna go ahead and pre-tin this, each one of these, so it's that much easier to pull these out. Add a little solder there. You really have to be careful with these pads because they will definitely lift on you. For speed's sake, we're just going to pull them out, just like that. Alright, so these are 390Rs. Okay, 3 watt resistors. That was the recommendation on swapping these out. So, I want to show you guys a little trick. Basically, if you use a toothpick, you can actually get the eyelets cleaned out, so you can just slide things through. It's probably a better practice to do that. So that's a little tip. Use a toothpick to just kind of push it through while you're heating it up. That way it'll actually make a little hole, a nice hole for the eyelet there. So taking this, I'm gonna put this in the hole, and then I'm going to push that through and let it go ahead and solidify, and then pull it through. And then I don't know if you can see that, but you have a nice little hole there. So just to show y'all, those are in. Wonderful. Look at the top here. As you can see, there's a bulge. I was like, what the hell? But it measures right, so it's good. So let's go ahead and snip those. Okay, so instead of having a continuous running GoPro, I have so many problems with this damn thing. But okay, so basically, this guy. This is the 1 watt 220K resistor. I don't know how far the GoPro went, but R149 and R154 took those out. I'm gonna place those with that. Okay. All right, that's what it looks like with it on. So R154, which you can't see now, the number, but an R149. There you go. And there's our 3 watt resistors, the 390s. Okay, and let's keep going. Okay, next on the list is R7, R147, R159, and R8. And we're going to change those out to half watt 1.5K carbon film resistors. So that's what they look like. So let's see if we can find those on the board. So R7 is, there's R8 there. Here's R159. Here's R7 and R147. Okay, so it's this, and this. Pretty straightforward. So let's get those pulled out. Okay, so to go over what I did, these guys, that one. All right, so those are in. So far so good. So far I did this, that one, this, and this. All right, so let's see what's next. Okay, so next up on the list is a C44 C135 400 volt 47 nanofarad, and then a C136 275 volt 100 nanofarad. So let's go look at these on the board. There we go. C144. That's C135. Yep. So this one, and I bet that's, yep, C136. Interesting. This one's a 275 volt. But that's fine. So it's these three right here by the phase inverter. You take out these caps and replace them. And you know, to tell you the truth, with how big these are, I'm probably going to put them on the underside here. So I'll put them under here. just because there'd be more space coming up this way instead of hitting the actual board up there. So I'll do it and show you guys what it looks like. Well, there you go. This one was supposed to be a 275 volts, but you know, 600 volt, it was all I could find. And an orange drop cap, so that works just fine. Then there's 47, what was it? 47 nanofarads, and so is that one. So I'll put these on the underside of the board, and I'm going to stress again that definitely use the toothpick method. It is a time saver and it saves your pads. So okay, so let's go on to removing the texture pot thing. Yeah. Okay, so now for the texture pot mod thing. Well, removal, I should say. It's not really a mod. But I'm curious to see how much louder this amp is going to get with this whole mojo board taken out. So the idea is to unsolder this guy. So we're not going to need this anymore. And then we're going to just jumper these two in the middle. And that's it. There we go. She is out of the board now. So what I did, I just put solder across the whole thing. And then I was able to pull on this and pull it out. So now we're going to jumper those two in the middle. All right, I used some 20 gauge wire, some solid core, and there we go. I think we're done with this mod, the power board mod, so that's pretty much it. So the next thing I'll do is the bias mod, and that's with R205 or R211, one of those. Just a tip. So before you put everything back together, it's a good idea to make sure that there's continuity between everything that you've done. So put it on continuity mode. Take your prongs and pretty much anything that you've kind of worked with, just make sure it still has the connectivity that it should. So just go through the board and make sure there's continuity with the stuff that should be touching, and making sure there's no continuity with the stuff that shouldn't be. Also, in the next video, we're going to use this as an extra gain stage. So don't throw it away or anything yet, but in the next video, we're going to do something cool with this one. Okay, so next on the list is the bias pot. So this is the resistor that we're going to be working with. Here's the 50K bias pot that I got. So it's a linear pot. We're going to take a 15K resistor and set it here. And we're also going to take this middle one and set it over to this second lead here. Basically, I'm going to go ahead and make it permanent and take that resistor out and put the leads in there. Okay, so the hole is drilled. So what we want to do here is get these burrs out. You know, go ahead and pull that out. Pull all the big pieces out. Now, since I've done this, there's more than likely a bunch of little metal shavings all over. And you can see it, huh? So I'm gonna have to clean the hell out of that. So let's see if I can get these big pieces out first. And then I'm gonna go over it with just a pad, just to kind of clean it up a little bit. So I'm gonna work on that and get back to it. All right, so I did lift the preamp board to pull this out, R205, and I just wanted to triple check ohms of this thing is the resistance 39. Okay, yeah, that's what they said it was. So in the instructions, it says to preset your pot to whatever that resistor is, so you have a good starting point. And the pot is already in there. See, it's separated from the chassis. And let's solder this one together. I'm glad I lifted this up because there's a bunch of little specks all over the place from me drilling that out. So I am going to take a brush. There we go. Okay, so I am presetting this pot to be 39K, so we have a good starting point. So it'll climb. Once it starts really slowing down, then that's about where it is. And you know, I've been using the actual pot to adjust it. So it'll look like it keeps going up or it keeps going down, but it does eventually slow down. So right here I'm at 37.99, so that should be a little colder than it originally was. So I think we're right about there. So one of the things I noticed is that whenever I have to take this preamp board out, I have to unsolder this or unscrew this. Great. So just the same with this little mod here. So yeah. Yay. So just a word of caution, as you can see here, look at this. That is lifting. So these pads are so easy to come off, man. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but it's not making good connection. So I'm going to have to probably run a cable from that to this piece here. So it's kind of unfortunate there. Okay, so I did another little thing here, and that is adding some 1 ohm resistors. These are 1 watts to the 8th pin to ground. So what this is going to allow me to do is to check the bias or the millivolts that is going through this, so I can do the bias. So it has to be hitting on the 8th pin, and then you go to ground, and this whole lane is a ground, as you can see here. Ground. So I just kind of tapped into that, so I'll be able to bias it now. I've had a little bit of help from my friends over at the Tube Amp Diagnostic page on Facebook, and I also needed to remove the ground from pin 8 on each of these in place of the ground connection, because obviously electricity goes towards the path of least resistance. So as you can see, this pin right here is 8. Well, there's the key, and this is the pin 8 right there. And basically we just have to take that out. We're going to solder that out, and then we're going to place the 1 ohms in place of that in those holes, so it'll be clean. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So there's one there, there's one there, there, and there. All right, so let me do that. All right, so here we go. There it is in place of the jumper that was on the other side of the board. So looking much better now. I'll clip those leads and we'll be good. All right, so we got something going on here now. This is working great now. Okay, so that bias pot is adjusting the cathode bias here on pin 8 with taking those jumpers off on the other side of this board. So you have to do that before you can get any good readings of that, because you know electricity is going to go the path of least resistance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take pin 3 out. Obviously I need to be on the volts here. On pin 3, so it would be 1, oops, let me focus. 1, 2, 3, okay? 435. Now before I biased this, it was 456. So once you bias it, it starts to go down. But since I've already biased this and got this where I wanted to, it's doing what it needs to. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at pin 8. It's at 48, okay? And the pin next to it, that's 42, 46, 46. Okay, so what you do is obviously 606 GC's max dissipation is 30 watts. From the plate, when I had it before I biased it, was 456. So we'll just say 450 or so. But putting that into, so 30 watts max dissipation divided by 456 plate times basically 70% is where we want it to be, times 1000 gives us 46 volts, milliamps. So milliamps or millivolts. Yeah, I always get those mixed up. But that's where we want to be. And as you saw, that's where we're at. What I'm going to do now is this is going to be a fun little test. So with this little bias down here, that guy, I'm going to take one of these markers. I'm going to mark it exactly where it is, to where I like it, and then we're going to bias it down to see what it sounds like when it's biased cold, which these typically are out of stock. So we'll go ahead and record that, see what it sounds like with the power amp mods. So yeah, we should be sitting pretty good now. Let's go check it out. Okay, so what I did was I brought it down to 28. So it's there on the 8 pin, or 24. Okay, so that's where we're going to start, and then we're going to go up from there. Excuse the mess. It's always a mess whenever I'm working on something, but it's always a good idea to put it on a light bulb limiter whenever you're powering it up from work that you've done, for sure. Not that everybody would have one, but you should look into getting something like this so you don't catch stuff on fire. So with all the work that I've done on the power amp section and stuff, I'm going to go ahead and flip it on and see if that goes bright. So here we go. All right, that's what we want to see. Now if it stays really bright, then there's a problem. All right, welcome back, and that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Yeah, these videos are going to go a little long for sure, and you know, it's really in all trying to put as much information I can in these so you guys can just watch the videos and just follow along, and you can decide what mods you want to do to your amps and stuff, and then we get to hear what it sounds like afterwards, and just kind of judge from that, you know. So the one cool thing about this one is this bias mod, and I'm really stoked about this one. A lot of fun drilling the hole into that one, and got the pot in there. And I will list all the stuff that I picked up, and I'll put it down in the description area, just so you guys have a list of the things that I've actually used in all these mods. So we went through the power section too, and it was French, by the way. I was looking at that again, and the guy who was doing it, he was just doing a bunch of power amp mods, you know, changing some of the resistors and changing it to orange drop caps and stuff. And it's more for reliability, I think, rather than sound. So I don't expect too much as far as a change in tone, maybe cleaning up the circuit as far as noise and stuff. Sounds pretty quiet. Yeah, do I even hear that hum anymore? I don't think so. That's freaking awesome. Oh, and by the way, everybody's been chiming in. Like, I've got several guys who are sending me their mods and stuff, and this is really cool because it saves me from having to do the research of trying to figure out how to do these things. And the next three things that I'm going to do is, one is going to be an extra gain stage, which Ricardo, thank you for sending that to me. And I'm going to do that. For some reason I thought it was on a phase inverter. That was dumb. But it's on V2. And we'll do that. After that will be the JCM and the Mesa mods. I think I will put the noise gate on a pot, and I'll probably put that one in the back. Now I know, Ricardo, you put yours in the back for the gain stage, but I think I'll pop another hole and just have another one, probably by this gain. I'll probably put it up at the top here, I think, and put a pot in there for the gain, and then I'll just have my noise gate in the back. So let's go ahead and go through this. So the thing that I'm very excited about is this bias mod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bring it back to the stock bias. Okay, we're going to listen to that first. I'm going to play that riff that I've done. So let's go ahead and turn this on. All right. So I already marked this stuff over here. So basically where this line is, if it's this way, it's at that 46 millivolts, milliamps. But I'm going to take it back to cold bias to where it was stock. So that was like 26, 24 milliamps, which is pretty damn low. That's what I've heard from Peavey, that they typically have their stuff pretty low. And that's part of the reason why I did this bias mod. And let me show you guys. So let's play that riff. Here we go. Man, when I'm not warmed up, that's a tough one, dude. I can definitely tell a difference when I bias this up. So we're just gonna go for it. We're gonna go all the way up to the hot bias, which is about 70% for these tubes. And let's see what they sound like. So here it is, okay. First, let's just do a couple chugs. Okay, well, now let's turn it up. This is why I marked it, so I can just go ahead and do it. Okay, did y'all hear that? I think this is actually something you can feel and hear. So let's go back. Let's go cold again. All right, let's go cold. All right. I think it's more so in the chug. Okay, let's go back. And cold again. And back to hot again. Okay, let me tell you what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is when you got a bias cold, it is a lot looser. Like, it just kind of muddles up a lot more. And then when you bias it to 70%, when it's hotter, it just gets so much tighter and so much more accurate. And there's no latency in whenever you're picking it, and it actually comes through the amp. And it definitely makes a difference for me, for sure. And you know, I'm a pretty big stickler on, if I don't hear something or feel it, I'm going to tell you. It's just so much more immediate. I love it. So far, this mod is my favorite. Now, if that's your sound, if you want a little bit of cross distortion and stuff, and bias cold, you could do that. But it just doesn't have that punch that you would typically want for a metal situation. So let's go back up to hot. It's just so punchy. And I like that because I can be articulate with the way I'm playing, you know? So all my like... It just punches so much more. And one more time, let's go back to the cold. All right. Now, depending on what you're playing, maybe you like it a little bit looser, but I can definitely tell the difference of, it's kind of like putting a clean boost on the amp to where it just kind of, it just sharpens things. It doesn't really take out the low end, it just makes everything much more tighter. So there you go. This is what this sounds like, and this is a mod that I definitely think that everybody should do, and it's not too bad. Even if you don't do the power section upgrades, I do believe that putting in the bias pot with that 15K, and as you guys saw, make sure that you put that 1 ohm resistor so you can figure out what the bias is actually, on pin 8, okay? Make sure it doesn't touch anything else except for that pin 8 and ground. So I took those jumpers out with the help with the guys at the Tube Diagnostic and that page on Facebook. Those guys are great. They helped me out a lot. And they reminded me that you need to make sure that the ground is actually taken off of that 8 pin, or pin 8. So there you go. That's it. Let's go ahead and play that riff with the bias hot. Let's go a tad bit hotter. Let's just have a little more fun, right? Let's go just a little bit more. I don't want to go too much more than that. All right, there we go. Let's play it. All right, there we go. If you guys got any questions, go ahead, hit in the comments. And thank you guys who have been pitching in and giving me suggestions and wanting to help out with this series. I want to take this as far as I can, show everybody all the kind of cool mods that you can do to this thing. But I have to be careful, and I don't want to step over the mods. I do want the ability to bring it back to stock and then change it over to whatever mods we're doing. So thank you guys so much for the help. Like and subscribe. And if you got any questions, hit in the comments down below. DMD out.